Hey everybody, welcome to another video. Man, sorry, I'll get into the weekend, or last couple of days too as well. But today, of course, I want to talk about the X-Men 97 episode 4. It's Motendo and Lifedeath. And before I get into that, let me just kind of get you guys up to speed a little bit. So I was away for the weekend, went down to my mother's, with my son. Met my sister there. She's from out of town, from out of state, actually, and we did Easter down there, which went okay. However, and I don't know if it was because my mom wasn't feeling well, or maybe it was food poisoning, whatever, but when I came back, on Tuesday, what is today, Wednesday? Yeah, no, I came back Monday. Son went back to his mom's, and I kind of got back late, not late, but in the evening, and so, just wanted to kind of unwind and get things settled in, but I started waking up, and I fell asleep in my normal time. I started waking up in the middle of the night with chills, and you know how it goes. Then getting on the toilet, and then hovering over the toilet. Sometimes you had to kind of, I had to dig the bucket out of the closet, to catch the death coming out of both ends. Spare you the details, but and I kept waking up back and forth like that. When I finally did wake up in the morning, I felt off, but I wasn't terribly under the weather yet, or I just didn't feel it exactly. And then I started to go back to work as usual, doing my stuff, and I lasted till about just after noon, and I was done. I couldn't hold down water. I threw up my, I take like blood pressure medicine and some medication stuff, stuff for my acid reflux, things like that. I usually take like a daily Tylenol too, just to, kind of get through the day, and that all came back up, and I couldn't even hold down water, and it pretty much was like that most of the day. I kept falling in and out of sleep, that type of thing. I mean, it's typical flu stuff. Like I said, it sounds to me, and it felt to me, because I've had food poisoning before, it felt more like food poisoning than necessarily catching a virus from somebody. I'm out of the COVID self-tests, so I didn't do that, but I'm assuming it wasn't that. So needless to say, getting back to work and getting back from the holidays was kind of a rocky start. And I was going to record a video yesterday, couldn't get around to doing that. Which is kind of good, because maybe that coincided with today, the X-Men episode coming out. So I was able to watch that. I actually just watched it not that long ago. I was going to watch it at lunchtime, but I kind of worked through lunch, because I still don't have an appetite back. I had a couple of little things to eat, just to give me something in my stomach, but I'm still not really there. I've broken out the my herbal tea. Oh, it's the second cup on the same bag. It's not quite as good as the first bag, but got out the herbal tea and stuff, which has got ginger in it, and ginger seems to be help. I had a ginger dressing, a Japanese ginger dressing on my salad for lunch. I know I should, and maybe had a salad after that, but I kind of didn't. I didn't prepare. I came back, grabbed a few things at the grocery store on Monday, so I didn't really prepare for being sick as far as the things in my my refrigerator and pantry. So I kind of had to work with what I got. I got a whole bag of gummy bears, but I can't eat gummy bears all day. But anyways, regardless of that, I'm about 90% back to normal as far as today. It must have broken the evening, probably about midnight, I think, because I remember waking up and then going into the bathroom and thinking, let me try to get my pills in me again. So I took my pills, and I was able to fall asleep. And I slept pretty much without a peep until about 7:30 a.m. this morning, which I normally get up about that time to start working anyways. But I got up, and I was like, okay, I got more fluids in me. It's like, okay, I think I'm on the mend. So hopefully that's what that's all it was. I don't think it was life-threatening or serious, but sometimes when you get in that mode, and especially at my age too, you're 50 years old, and it's not like you're 20 anymore. When you have like issues with the flu where you're gagging so hard and coughing and gagging so hard that you can't breathe because you're just inside you're just retching, you know what I mean? It's fine when you're 20. Imagine all the times you got drunk on tequila or something. I can think of a lot of tequila morning, not a lot of tequila, I'm from one specific tequila morning or Southern Comfort morning or whatever, where you're drunk the previous night. You wake up and you've got the dry heaves and you're feeling like shit and you swear, I'm never going to drink alcohol ever again, that kind of thing. Now fast forward to 50, I don't really drink much anymore, but fast forward to 50, when you start realizing as you're gagging that you can't breathe, it goes through your head, is this it? Am I going to die? So, it's kind of a scary thing to happen. Being sick now when you get older is scary, especially when you get really sick, because you're literally like, when you're laying in your bed and you feel like death warmed over, you're like going, is this what it's going to feel like when I'm on my deathbed? That type of thing. I know it's morbid to think about, but that's just the things that go through your head when you're older and sick. I don't know if anybody else has the same occurrence, but it happens with me. Maybe it's just my imagination. But so here we're back at it. I said I watched the X-Men episode, and I've got my issues. And I knew the cracks were going to start forming, and the cracks are starting to form. We left off the last episode, and like I said, I'm trying not to spoil this very much, but we left off last episode with, the Lifedeath, starting of the Lifedeath, and then we go into this new episode, and it's the whole first, and they broke it into two parts. It's not a good sign, when I thought to myself, oh geez, they just blew through what could have been a longer Inferno, and now you're going to do Lifedeath. It's like I assumed the next episode would have been Lifedeath, which it sort of was, but they kind of preempted it with this Jubilee, Motendo, Mojoverse thing. It was very clever, and I really think that they did. I applaud the effort of doing the whole throwback to the 90s and the 90s beat-em-up game, the X-Men beat-em-up game, and there was some really cool, clever moments in it that I thought, that's cool, right? I mean, that's kind of a neat thing. It is also weird when, I was pretty much an adult when all that stuff came out, and it's pretty much weird now that all that stuff is considered retro. I often say when somebody says that's retro, I always return with, that was just a few years ago. That's how you know you're getting old. And when it's weird how it's just like, it's like, oh, we're going back to, back to the 90s. It's retro, 30 years ago. So it's like, Jesus. It literally feels like yesterday. It's weird when me as a kid or a younger person thinking about video games as the wave of the future. And now you're at the point where certain video games are old school or retro. I know I keep doing the air quotes. But anyways, I guess we've gotten to that point where it's kind of like, this is weird. Very weird. I literally feel like we're in a Matrix sometimes, which they kind of were in this episode, sort of. Like I said, it was clever, but I didn't get it. Like, what? It just seemed to be like this. I mean, it seemed like this thing. Hey, we want to do this thing because it's fun, right? And it was a great idea, but then we just kind of shoehorned it in between this like dramatic end to this really, Cliff Notes abridged version of Inferno, and then we hint at Lifedeath, which also, if you think about it, Lifedeath is not for me, it was not a page turner, the original in the comic book, and it was not I consider, super fun, right? It was long, drawn out, swoopy, with this like melodramatic romance between, it's just, I knew they were going to go, once I realized they're going to do the Lifedeath, I thought this is kind of cool, at least they're paying tribute to the old stuff, but me going back in the day, and I'm like, I don't pine to read the Lifedeath issues if I ever reread X-Men. Just kind of like, I just kind of bowl through it, like, just get it over with. So in going into this, I knew it's like, okay, I'm going to be bored for probably an entire episode. luckily, and at the same time, shockingly, it wasn't a full episode. Well, not really shockingly, because I knew they were going to start doing stuff like this. So not only we got 10 episodes instead of, say, 13 of the first season of the original, or I think the last season, I think the 5th season, wasn't that 13? Maybe it was a little longer, not much longer, but now we're getting 10 episodes. Now, granted, we don't have commercials, so it's more like a 45-minute episode. But then, speaking of minutes, now you've taken off a few minutes. So now this episode's 29. So you've broken it up into a 2-part episode, which wasn't even a 50-50. It was a majority the Motendo, and then very short 8-minute part of Lifedeath. Again, I find that a little bit better just because, you know, like I said, Lifedeath to me was not a page turner. But so it's not like a whole. And I don't think I could have done a whole episode of that. I mean, but at the same time, you shoehorned in this other thing, which is tonally completely different. You went from this, like, you know, this roller coaster ride to a funeral, you know, that quick. And but now, you know, and it's also, so you're cramming all this stuff into what's even shorter episode, 29 minutes, as opposed to 32 or 33 minutes, whatever the episodes of other ones were. Like I said, and I'm like, when here the cracks are starting to form. It's just like, here's where the show's, it's like I knew something was going to go wrong. I mean, this is just my opinion, but I just felt like, you know, let's see where it goes. But I had issues with that. One good thing is we at least know that Jubilee is now 18 years old. So you weren't really sure if she was still a teenager or if she was a young adult. Now we know she's 18. So you can put her, whatever her sensibilities are, into that. Yeah, and Mojo thing, and it's funny, she even makes, I was waiting, or sorry, I wasn't waiting, I was just making an observation. Mojo first shows up, spoiler alert, Mojo shows up, and he's really thin, and I'm like going, wow, he's really skinny, he's not fat. And then I didn't get the part where it's like he feeds on ratings, and then she makes the comment, oh, are you dieting? He's like, oh, I'm glad you noticed. I'm like, okay. So it's not just me. He's drawn a lot thinner. I thought that was weird he called her Dirty Girl. Dirty Girl. What's going on there? Maybe I'm reading too much into it. I thought of something instantly, and I don't really want to get into it. You know, the whole, the Ed Piskor thing that just happened. I really don't want to make a video. I don't want to be one of these other guys that just jump on the bandwagon and mention that stuff. But there was he used words like that in some of the alleged, you know, conversations, which kind of started that whole diabolical, and he would call this girl, you know, Dirty Girl. And I'm just thinking, like, and now seeing it in a cartoon where, like, Mojo's calling this young girl Dirty Girl, it's just like, is that just like some internet thing, some meme, you know, texting meme nomenclature that the kids are using nowadays? And if so, then I would assume it's probably both innocent and at the same time nefarious. Which seems like everything that kids say nowadays is like one foot in like being this cute innocent thing, and then the other step in this like dark, you know, perverted world. You know, stuff like giat, you know, things like that. I mean, just these weird words. You know, she's thick. You know what I mean? Or you know, with the THICC. You know. So I'm assuming that the Dirty Girl is just a new thing that older dudes call younger girls? I don't know. Like old girl, you know, like the English thing, oh girl, you know, like that, a dirty girl. So if that is true, though, it also makes that whole Ed Piskor thing a little, I find what was going on there a little problematic. Like I said, I don't really want to get into that. If you don't know about that, just go ahead and look all that stuff up. I don't even know if you follow him or follow, you know, the cartoonist kayfabe. But again, I did not want to make a video on it. It just popped into my head when I heard that on the thing. So I just wanted to, you know, make that mention. But so we did this Motendo thing, which is clever and fun. And then we jump into the Mojo or sorry, the life-death thing. And the thing also about that I found weird was, you know, they put her in the leather vest and the leather stuff at the end of that, and I know she didn't wear that. I know in the Lifedeath comic she had like on like a dress or like a robe or something like that, you know. And then they also did the house with all the different glass panes and stuff. They did none of that in this. They put him in like this old kind of like rustic house, like tinker shop kind of labby house thing, like kind of Tex-Mex-y, you know, New Mexico kind of house. And then they put her in like these most drab overalls that are just like, they do nothing for her. And I just thought that was kind of an odd mix. Why don't you just keep her either in her leather outfit, you know, her leather jacket and leather pants, which looked cool on her, you know, or put her in the robe or whatever, you know, like she's, you know, whatever. But, I don't know, I just found that kind of odd. You know, and then it's, like I said, a weird juxtaposition with stuff like that. You know, it's like, let's tone down the sexuality of the show, but at the same time, let's use words like dirty girl. I mean, what is going on? I swear that everything that comes out now is in this weird kind of self-censoring, or maybe not even self, maybe even, you know, coming down, decreed on high, but at the same time, this weird like kind of push and pull fight between creators, you know, wanting to push the envelope of, say, sexiness and push the envelope on ultra conservative, you know, almost, you know, puritanical, you know, covering up of anything. It's just, it's what the world is nowadays. I mean, that's how things are. You know, the more, like I said, I used to always think back in the day, regardless if I was liberal or conservative or you're liberal or conservative, but the word liberal, right? I mean, I had a friend I remember saying to my friend, I said, oh, your mom doesn't mind that you have, you know, dirty magazines, right? And that friend said, oh, well, my parents are both, you know, school teachers, and they're very liberal, right? And so I always kind of, you know, and then as you go on, you realize, oh, they're being very conservative, you know, wearing a conservative outfit, you know, really toning down their, you know, sexuality. So nowadays you get this weird, like, ultra left now is like super conservative. And that being, you know, any sort of sexuality is somehow feeding toxic masculinity, but at the same time you go to like comic book conventions and every girl is wearing a thong in their costume, but that's empowering. I can't take it anymore. I literally can't take it anymore. It's just like, what is going on with the world? And it bleeds into like everything, you know. Look at the 90s. You go back to the 90s. What this is supposed to be going off. It's like all the girls are walking around with thongs. You know, everything was like, you know, all the dudes are these giant, jacked, muscle-bound, you know, like freaks. You know, like these big hulking freaks. And it's just like, it was like the body, body image, like cranked up to 11 on steroids in both manners, whether it's super hypersexual or super hypo-masculine, you know, brutism. And it's just like, and then throw a bunch of weapons and pack and Rob Liefeld packs on it, and you got the 90s, right? And, you know, now, and then we had this weird soft period of the 2000s where, you know, all the emphasis was on writing, but they still had people like Frank Cho rise up, you know, and do some, you know, pretty risque artwork and stuff in the pages of the comics. You know, it seems like with Frank Cho, it was butt shot after butt shot after butt shot of every character. You know, and so it's a soft, weird area in the 2000s, and then as the 2010s, once that whole diabolical with the Spider-Woman, you know, Manera cover happened, then suddenly it became this huge swing in the other direction to totally, you know, take any type of sexualization out of comic books. It's a common, it's so common now that it doesn't even need to be said, but I mean, and this goes for, you know, wherever you're directing your you know, your intent to, is sex sells. That's why they have Victoria's Secret ads. That's why they have, billboards with, with attractive people on it, men and women. Whether it's Calvin Klein commercials, you got a bunch of young, male models and stuff. I mean, that's, Taylor Swift had her legs out through the entire new concert that she does, on Disney Plus. It's just like, okay, all of that sex sells, appealing sexuality sells. Like I said, I would assume in certain regards. Now, obviously, this is not really directed to kids. This is all playing off of, our nostalgia, mine and, say, 10 years younger than me, our nostalgia of this stuff. So you're not even talking to kids at this point. And the fact that they go back and forth by doing this, like I said, with the meme talk, right? And the current, young person speak. They use that with Jubilee, but then they're referencing a type of person that Jubilee is from the 90s, which would be 30 years prior to that. So, you know what I mean? I don't get it. It's all, maybe I'm reading into it too much, and of course this is all my own opinion, but I mean, I feel like it just got kind of weird. But back to the show. I mean, it's still entertaining. It still looks like it's animated beautifully. There's fun. There's a lot of fun in this episode. It takes a doomy, gloomy kind of sour attitude towards the end with the Lifedeath, which again was inevitable if you're going to go down that route. It really makes me wonder what's episode 5 going to have. At episode 5, we're going to be halfway through the season. So, are you going to finish up Lifedeath that quick and give Storm her powers back? So, really, outside of, her initial shock of losing her powers and the torment that causes, in the comics, she didn't have her power for a very long period of time. And she had overcome a lot of that and kind of learned to live with it and still became a compelling character that people liked. If they just turn around and give her powers back mid-season, or even give her powers back at the end of the season, you really didn't let her live her life without the powers to kind of make that growth. But again, it all comes back to this cartoon, or animated series, if you want to be cool, it's sequential art, not comic books, is moving by at warp speed. I mean, it's just like, they're just throwing things out there, and boom, it's as quick as it comes, as quick as it's over, and you're like, what? Wait a minute. It's like, the original show didn't do that. The original show did abridge things and did kind of mess with the continuity, of the sports source, of the comic when they did the 90s show, but they would still spend 5 episodes on a story arc, or 4 episodes. This is just like, we're just zipping by, and I think it hurts it. But at the end of the day, I guess that's what it comes down to. I guess the other thing you got to consider is I'm of a certain age. People who grew up with the show when they were young, meaning people 10 years younger than me, are of a certain age today. And I would say arguably people 10 years younger than them. So we're talking like people that are 30. They're of a certain age. They kind of lived through their 20s, right? I feel like there's a dichotomy. I know I hate using that word. Catch-22 is not a good word. I'll try to think of a better word for this, but there's this conundrum, whatever, where I could see young people with their lack of attention, meaning they spent almost their entire life on YouTube and eventually TikTok, Instagram, and they're into this internet world where they've had it their entire life, and it seems like attention spans are going down, where people all have ADD and, or HDD and H8, whatever. Problems, they can't keep their mind on anything for a short period. They like really quick, small snippets of things. But then at the same time, you're also trying to cater your stuff back to nostalgia from people a lot older meaning my demographic, or like I said, a millennials demographic. Those people, and millennials probably more so, had, like I said, had internet more of their life than, say, I did. But at the same time, they still don't seem to have as an attention problem as the younger generation. So now you're feeding us all this content at breakneck speed, like a very young person would like. But the stuff that you're feeding them is stuff that was placating to an older crowd. So therefore, you're getting, it doesn't fuse well, I find, because I think that you're probably, again, I think young people looking at this going, I don't want to see this. This is something my parents, liked. And I see older people looking at this going, I really like that stuff, but now you're really putting it in a young person's perspective. So I guess it does go to show you that I think this is where, and I'm not saying this hard and fast rule, but it's, I think there is something to when people say grow up, meaning I think the things that you liked as a child, and I have no room to talk. I've got He-Man figures all over here. The camera's sitting right in front of Snake Mountain, and I'm talking about this cartoon, right? But the same thing is, I think as you get older, I think, you kind of age out of things. Even though you have a love for it and a passion of it. Like I said, when you're 50 years old and you're really the only TV show you're watching, because there isn't much else to watch, is a cartoon, from 30 years ago that also was, and you're older than you know what I'm saying? It's weird. Like I said, I think people that say you need to grow up can go, take a short walk or take a long walk off a short cliff. But at the same time, I understand where the input, I can't think of the word. I can understand where that comes from, as meaning like, hey, maybe you will age out of things. And I constantly have kind of had an existential crisis every so many weeks or so many months or so many years, where you're like, have I aged out of this? Should I still be, should I still be this obsessed or this passionate about something that, from the past? I guess if it makes you happy and and that's what you like, then go for it, right? But at the same time, I feel like maybe now you're seeing the limitations of some of that stuff. I find the same way with comic books. That's why I like reading comic books today. I'm reading comic books of the past, and the comic books of the past, I read it when I was in a different age bracket, a different age. It's just like certain things don't age well. Certain things are kind of timeless, but certain things don't age well, and I haven't aged well along the way. So you've got this competing kind of, duality between the two different things. You've got, a medium that's kind of aging weirdly, and you're aging weirdly, and you're kind of constantly running into each other along the way. But speaking of comics, though, real quick, let me go before I let you go here. Actually, we're not doing too bad on time. I did manage to pick up on Monday when I came back into town. I did end up getting a little bit of a run here. I'm going to go into this specifically more often. I knew this was going to be in the mailbox, but the new Spider-Woman comic, my subscription, this would be issue number 5, came. I read it Monday night before I got sick. So, and I'm going to do an episode on this one, the new She-Hulk comic, once that comes, and I'll read that, and I'll do it just like I did the other one. So I'll save that for that. The new Marvel free previews came out, which is issue 31, and it's got all the new stuff coming up. As far as a great cover though on the She-Hulk #9. That'll be nice when that comes out. A nice cover She's back in her costume too. It looks like me. I think it's the same artist. I guess if I hadn't looked at the names, I'd know. One thing I wanted to make mention though was, speaking of the facsimiles. We've got the Secret Wars number 6. We've got 257 Amazing Spider-Man, and then they're going to reprint the Godzilla number 1. I had comics back in that day, but Godzilla was not one of them. I had Shogun Warriors, I had Micronauts, I had Star Wars, I had Battlestar Galactica, but I did not have the Godzilla, so I don't really have a fondness for it. I may pick it up, but I didn't ask to have it pulled. So that's what's coming up, and this would be for stuff shipping in June. So I picked up the newest version of that. Also, I'm going to start getting... sorry. I'm going to start getting these. Sorry. DC's version, which it's funny because it's weird. DC's facsimiles all have the magazine stock with like the more paper stock cover inside. They also do the same thing with their connects. I'm assuming regular comics are like this as well. It smells better than the other one. But DC also does the same thing. It's called Connect. And in that, one thing I did notice is they also have a section, well, not really a section, but they do talk about facsimiles that they are coming out with. And they're going to follow suit. So, as does Secret Wars is going to reprint the entire 12-issue limited series throughout the course of the year. They're also going to follow suit with DC and do Crisis on Infinite Earths, which is essentially a big crossover like Secret Wars did. And that's going to start up in June, it looks like. On sale in June 18th. So I asked my comic shop to start pulling the Crisis once that starts, so I'll get all 12 issues of Crisis. It says here, a seminal event series now available in monthly facsimile editions. I can't remember. It says somewhere here, maybe it was in the front, it said that they're going to print the entire thing. They're going to do the whole shebang. So that'll be cool. So I'll definitely, I don't get a lot of the DC ones, but I'll definitely get the Crisis of Infinite Earths. I don't know, I might pick up Birds of Prey starting to look sort of good. I think Wonder Woman, Catwoman, that's kind of I mean, there's always Batman too. And I like the new Batman. I like what's her face? Remember, I like the girls, but the new Batman, I like. It's the new villain, the girl. What's her name? Name just totally escaped me. What is her name? The clown girl, not Harley Quinn, but the new girl with the purple and black. Oh my god, I can't remember what her name is all of a sudden. But anyways, her. I like her. I like to see more of her. Catwoman. Catwoman is a comic I used to collect. I also collect Wonder Woman. I did sort of collect Teen Titans and whatnot here and there. Zatanna looks like, I think this is I don't know if this is going to be an ongoing series. And I don't know if I like the interior art that isn't selling me on it, but they have a Zatanna comic coming out. Nice cover, but the interior art, I don't know. I do like this. I like she's got one of her original costumes. I think that's nice. But yeah, so picked up that. As far as the new comics, the only one I picked up, of course, was the X-Men 97 #1. Now, this does not follow the cartoon. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but the other thing that was weird is I didn't know this was going to be the cover. I asked him, I said, is that a variant cover? And he says, no, it's the... Oh, no, it does say variant edition. So I got a variant edition. Wait, I thought I asked him. I asked him if this was a variant, and he said no. It says right on the cover, variant edition. No, I didn't charge... It wasn't any more money, but I gotta say, I don't like the variants very much. But it is a variant cover, and this is the one he had on the shelf, too. I just thought that was weird that he said it was not a variant. Even this is a variant. The artwork's great. It does not follow the show for them. I mean, it follows the characters, the same characters and all that stuff. It's just, it's not like an adaptation of the show. I did think that was pretty funny. There was a spot where, my enemy, Gambit, and Rogue, my would-be girlfriend. He says something about it, holds up her 85 punky outfit. Yeah, like I said, I'm assuming it's just a standalone story that will just coincide with the cartoon. Like I said, it doesn't really, Dazzler's in it. It doesn't really have a, and Sinister shows up at the end. So I'm assuming it's just going to be its own kind of thing. I think that's how they did that before. They had the comic. It's only a 4-issue limited series too as well. I'll pick up all 4 just to have it, but it's okay. It's not awe-inspiring. It's just okay. Here's issue 254 of Amazing Spider-Man. Again, they're continuing a whole year of facsimiles from 1984 of that whole run, Spider-Man in his black costume. So that picked up. And Wolverine #1, the 1988 version. I had this. I got this off of the spinner rack. Well, I don't know. I guess it was a spinner rack then. But I did get this, right off the rack when it first came out back in '88, when I was still in high school. But I liked it. It was, you're like, oh, Wolverine's got his own series now. Great cover, awesome cover, and it's by John Buscema, one of my favorite artists of all time. But I really couldn't get into it. I didn't like the whole Mandrapore thing, and I don't know, for some reason, I just really couldn't get into it. I don't know why. I'm not saying that there was anything that really turned me off. I just really couldn't get into it. And I probably collected maybe the first 10 issues of it-ish, and then it was also kind of coinciding with the time 88. So 12 issues later, you're thinking, this says it came out in November, so let's just say essentially that's 89. But still, 89 to 90, I'm still heavily into comics. I just must have just got bored with it, just stopped buying it. But, yeah, I don't know. I still picked it up, because, it's just something to have. I like it. It's part of the like I said, all these facsimiles for the most part, I love them all. So, even comics like that I didn't necessarily get into, but it still, again, takes me back to that time. And again, you also think to yourself, same thing with my argument. Have I aged out? Or did I never age in? This might have been beyond me as a kid, and maybe I'll age into it. I don't know. This is one thing when it comes down to comics. This goes for all comic books, and stuff that I love, too. I guess when it comes down to it, I like to see, these are the things I like to see in a comic book. These are the things that'll make me take interest. Obviously, the first thing is the art. I'm an art person first. It's a visual medium. I'm a comic book artist. I write my own comic books, but I'm an artist first, and I write them from an artist's point of view, which is a big thing back, especially in the 90s. So, I'm going to go look at the art first. And if the art really appeals to me, that's really going to start the ball rolling on whether or not I like the comic or not. Second from that do they have appealing characters? And again, I tend to have a tendency to like the female characters more. Obviously like them when they're sexualized or sexy characters. I think this just looks neat. And of course, that's all subjective, what you think is sexy. There's some people that love characters. They think, I'm trying to think of an example, like, Emma Frost is like the sexiest, character that exists in the Marvel Universe. And it's just like, she's not bad, but she's not my cup of tea, really. So that's all subjective, what you think is sexy and what isn't, I think everybody can kind of come to the agreement that we all like Rogue. Rogue seems to be, she's the farmer's daughter, the girl next door. She's got the white stripe in her hair. She's cool. She's cool looking, too. She's got the voice, so if it's in the cartoon, but she's still, they kind of do it, even in comic form, how they kind of give her, ma stuff, and they give her that southern drawl. I don't know, for some reason that does it for me, and obviously seems to do it for a lot of dudes and girls alike. But again, so art first, then appealing characters, specifically more, sexy females. Say what you want about that. Call that misogynistic, call that sexist, call that outdated, whatever. Whatever you want to call it whatever you want. This is what I like. Not ashamed to admit it. I don't know why I should be. I'm a 50-year-old man. I can't say that I don't like sexy comic book characters. But is that going to get me kicked out of the what club? The cool club? I don't know. And then, of course, after that, I'd probably say story being last. Meaning, for me, it's the end of it. Oh, sorry, I skipped one in the middle. This is what I was saying. This is what I want to talk about with comics, is humor. Most of the things that I like, that I enjoy watching, have at least an element of it, if not all-out humor. I mean, I love Venture Brothers. I find it hilarious. I'm not as into, say, like Family Guy or The Simpsons or stuff like that, but I still enjoy at times the humor that's in it. South Park, obviously, freaking hilarious. So when I watch that, I like to be entertained. I like to laugh, and I have a tendency to laugh at life. I mean, that's how I get through life, is finding humor even in situations that aren't funny. It's a coping mechanism that I use to get through life. So I think when the comics are super serious, or TV shows are super serious, it really turns me off, because it almost causes me stress to watch it. It's like, I want some levity here. I want something to kind of, break that tension. And I find the humor to be great. I mean, that's why this episode with Jubilee in it, when they did it was a lot of funny parts with that Motendo. Regardless of how they executed, I think there was some humor in it that I like. I like that levity. Then, you cross that with the Lifedeath, and you're like, oh my God, it was killing me here with this seriousness. So again, going back to comic books, I find the ones that I like the most, and this isn't a lot. Even though there are a lot of Marvel comics that I like, there doesn't seem to be a lot of humor. There is one sometimes, but when they take it way too seriously, it bores me. And I find like the Wolverine comic to be a little too much like Lifedeath, a little too serious. I like when they'd screw around, and a lot of screwball slapstick stuff that would happen in X-Men. Whether it's Rogue crashing through the window and interrupting Colossus as he's doing the whole Titanic romantic nude drawing of Psylocke. I think that's funny. It's not super. It's not knee slapping snorting funny. But it gives me a little chuckle, and I like that little chuckle, because as I said, it breaks the tension, and gives you the levity. Almost all of my work that I do, especially that I can create 100%, is primarily humor. I mean, the stuff that I do parodies, which are humor. It's a form of humor, and that's what I like. I love parody. I love when you take something that's considered serious or sacred, and you draw a mustache on it. I mean, that's a really simplified version of what I'm talking about, but I think that's funny, and I like to do parody. I like to poke fun at things. I like to poke fun at what do you call it? Current events, current attitudes, current things. That's how the whole the woke thing, right? I mean, at the same time, I enjoy poking fun at it. It's fun. I see something that I see as dangerous, or I see something that is bad for society, and I don't have any power to stop it, because but I can still poke fun at it and find some kind of levity in it. So I know this it's kind of a hodgepodge episode. Like I said, I haven't been able to record an episode for a few days. Throw on some flu, and here we are, kind of back to the status quo. And I'll start pumping stuff out more regularly. But I didn't really have any visuals to pull up. Sorry, it's just my talking head for 44 minutes. But here, I'll show. This is all I could come up with. Just go on there. Just do a Google search. Even if you're not going to watch the episode, do a Google search, X-Men 97 Motendo. I mean, they even got a couple of scenes there from Lifedeath, you know. Just kind of go through it. You'll see other people do their videos. Oh my gosh! Like, here, this, you know, let me just make mention of this real quick, right? Is this type of stuff. I try not, you know, my thumbnails are have a little bit of hyperbole in them. You know, again, I try to be funny but this kind of reaction, these are reactions, right? You could show me the most insane thing that just totally just floors me, right? And this is what my reaction will be like. Huh. Wow. Amazing. Like I said, you know, just this over-animated, you know, crazy reaction to things. I don't have this reaction. Like I said, my dad died. And outside of breaking down in tears, you know, I didn't have this kind of reaction. Maybe I'm just a freak. Or maybe I'm just, you know, a stoic asshole. But, I mean, I don't have these kind of reactions. And this is probably why a lot of people don't like to watch my videos. I'm not over the top. It seems like you got to be over the top on everything. Yeah, that's, I mean, this guy here, look at his reaction, right? It's just like these look at these people, oh my god, that's Cyclops. Yeah, I know it's Cyclops, you dumb shit. God damn people sometimes. Sorry, I don't know why I get furious about this, but, you know, just some of these people's reaction, like, oh my god, well, it's like the second coming of Jesus. You know, it's just like, oh, my lord, you know? Like I said, I think I might, my thumbnails, I kind of do a little bit of, you know, in my mind, I'm making fun of that, like as like, oh my god, look what I've got here, right? I'm being a sarcastic smartass when I do that. That's just to let you know. Maybe it comes off as being like this, being clickbaity or very, you know, whatever you call it. But to me, I'm just being an asshole about it. So I'll just let you know about that. Let you know. So when you see this stuff in the future, you go, all right, just give yourself another reason why not to watch me. But anyways, yeah. So if you don't know about this stuff, just do a Google search on it. I mean, I'll pull up millions of images. You know, if you don't have, what do you call it? Disney Plus, you know, and you don't want to pay for Disney Plus to watch it, then don't pay for Disney Plus to watch it. You know, I'm not endorsing anything, but there are ways around that. Just saying. So, you know, take that for what it's worth. Yeah, or maybe, hey, you know, if you want to support them and you really want to see it, maybe once it comes out, it's complete, maybe buy the physical copy of it. You know, or maybe they'll offer it as a digital download somewhere. I don't know. You know, or just sign up for Disney Plus for the few weeks that, you know, a couple of months that it's going to air, and then just cancel your Disney Plus. Seems like a lot of people do. But that said, I guess that's my kind of closing thoughts on the cartoon animated series. Like I said, I really. And I don't mind if somebody calls it animated series. I don't mind if somebody calls comic books sequential art. But when you do it because you're trying to, you don't want to look like a child by saying cartoon or a child by saying comic, right? I find that really fucking annoying. You know, I don't mind people saying it, and I'll say it once in a while. Oh yeah, the animated series, or oh yeah, the sequential art. But I don't do it like, you know, super, you know, smug. It's sequential art. I read comic books. Cartoons, those are for children. I watch animation. It's like people that call like a Western animation anime. It's just like, it's okay. We're not in Japan. It's not called anime. Anime is Japanese for animation, right? So I don't know. It just seems like if something was from animation from Japan, you call it anime. Just like comics, you don't call these aren't manga, right? You know, I don't mind when people make the slip up. That doesn't really bother me. What really bothers me is stuff like when you're doing like searches or like categories on like streaming services. It's like anime. Okay, so I expect I'm going to see a bunch of Japanese shows in anime. When I hit anime, the X-Men cartoon pops up. It's not fucking anime, right? So I don't know. I'm getting all excited and angry about it at the end. Maybe it's these douchebags got me all worked up by seeing them on their thumbnails or whatever. But I guess it's a good place to stop. Right? When you think, all right. Again, you know, I'm not even going to bring that part up. But I'll see what's on the next. We'll see what we do in the next video. Again, hopefully She-Hulk should be on its way pretty soon. Read through that, and I'll do reviews on those. Tell you what I think. The good thing is I liked the Spider-Woman issue. I thought it was great. And again, like I said, I don't know what other new comics I'm going to pick up, or what direction's going that. But I'm enjoying comics right now, so. You know, maybe not as much as I did in, say, high school, but I'm still enjoying them. Did I age out? Maybe. Whatever. It is what it is. But I will see you on the next video. Remember, like and subscribe if you like this. You know, fill my comment boxes with hate mail, whatever you want to do, or you know, whatever you want to say. Just let me know. And I'll catch you in the next one. All right, bye-bye.